Okay, back to the photograph being the piece of artwork. So Andy Goldsworthy makes these outdoor installations out of whatever happens to be on the ground or that he finds. They're often wood or leaves or needles or icicles. Sand, rocks, whatever is on the site. This one, and don't ask me how he made this wonderful icicle, set the whole thing up, goes out there really early in the morning. It's frigid. He's got a camera that works in that temperature. And as soon as the sun comes up and hits those icicles and they just illuminate like that, he takes the picture. The sun stays out, the piece melts, it's gone. The only thing that's left is his memory, and for us, the photograph that he took of this thing. And so he kind of makes a living by putting together these marvelous coffee table books that you can get and check out at the library, or people like me buy them because they're so beautiful to look at. So let's see what else we have here. Or not. Okay, so now we're looking at degrees of dimensionality. Not that dimensionality is a word, but I'm using it. There are 4 different sort of forms that sculpture can often take. And if you haven't noticed, in this class, we're mostly talking about sculpture and architecture. Sometimes we go into a little bit of industrial design or landscape design. We refer to some things, but for the most part, it's going to be sculpture. And so we've got reliefs that are things that are built up or actually carved down on from a surface, usually a horizontal surface. And then there's frontal work that backs up to a wall, but it's meant to be, but it's kind of more in the round, but meant to be seen from the front. There's full round work that is meant to be seen from all sides, and walk-through work, which is exactly what it might be. And this is a really cool piece. This is way down in the womb of a cave in France, and there are these 2 bison, a male and a female. There's a female, probably made to honor some fertility goddess. Over in the corner of the cave, that you can still find where somebody went and dug up the wet clay and just sort of glommed it onto this stone outcropping in this cave. And we're left with the artifacts of that, which are really pretty wonderful. I think this is one of the earlier sculptures that have been found. Here's another bas-relief. In this case, the last one was the additive technique where you're adding clay. This one is subtractive, where they're carving down through the stone. It's kind of wonderful when you think that those frilly leaves there that look like they could blow in the wind are stone next to these massive mammals. Look at their strange eyes. Here's another one. This one's pretty fantastic. I think this is an image of the architect of Johns Hopkins Hospital. And there he is looking over his plans. The thing that I found sort of wonderful about this is the extremely rigid geometrical form here, except where the artist decided to kind of pop out a little space for the elbow here, or the feet of the owl, or the hand. It's just kind of humorous in a very hard stone structured format. Here's more relief work. This is a little higher relief. Those leaves are fully formed. There's branches sticking out from the background. You'll see relief work often in graveyards. Here's another one. This is pretty high relief. The figures of the Madonna and Child are pretty much fully formed, but then stuck onto a background piece, which is then installed in this stone niche. This is porcelain. And this is even higher relief. This is I have not been able to find really great photographs of this. The inside relief, it's pretty high. It's probably up to, a foot out. It's metal. It's called Corporate Wars. There's men and women in there in full battle and angst, and not a very pleasant scene. And then flanked by these vacuum-formed plastic harsh geometric shapes that come out that look like skyscrapers. So you kind of get a sense maybe what Wall Street or corporate life could be at its worst. And some reliefs, like this one by Louise Nevelson, are actual objects that she's really thinking here not so much about what the piece is saying, but it's more of a formal compositional kind of piece. And this is something that we will be looking at again, maybe even in your own work. I won't be asking you to make images of things, but there's purely about balance and repetition and variety and all the other things that we're going to study in this course. So, but here you can see she's found objects around New York City, chair parts, paddles, frames, whatever it might be. Here's another one of her pieces. This is more like what she's known for. These big, the back here looks just like a bas-relief. It actually sits on the ground because these are such massive things. She went around New York and picked up all of these old discarded manufacturing parts, took them home, put them in more boxes, and stuck them together in these wonderful compositions, spray painted them. They're usually just a monotone, one color. But this piece is a little different from her normal work. You can see on the sides here are some projections, kind of wall pieces that come out. It's sort of like an encompassing altar or something. This is an American tribute to the British people. So anyway, this is seen as a frontal piece. It actually is not just close to the wall, but pieces are coming out, but it is meant to be seen from the front. Here's another one. This is by husband and wife team, the Keinholz. It's a old gas metal oven. Inside of that are nude mannequin feet. There's a plant up here. It's called a wandering Jew. Up on top of that is a musical instrument called a Jew's harp. There's a newspaper from World War II time. They are Jewish, and they often make very political statements. This one obviously has ideas about the Holocaust and World War II. More frontal work. Jewelry is seen as frontal work, as you can imagine. And this is Louise Nevelson over here. And you'll see pictures of her around. She's the one with the extremely, like half-inch thick eyeliner and shadow on. She's pretty sculptural in her own right. She looks like her work. But here's a very Baroque kind of piece of jewelry that she's put together, reminiscent of her bas-reliefs. And here, this is a more contemporary, it looks like some architecture student made this and gave it to his girlfriend for the school prom or something. But they're meant to be seen from the front. As you might imagine, you're not going to come up and start handling these things unless you wanted to get slapped. Okay, the next piece kind of work we're going to look at is full round work. Pieces that are meant to be seen, you can walk around them and look at all sides, and hopefully they're interesting enough that you want to walk around them. So here's some more of Louise Nevelson's work with these found object wooden pieces. She's got a room that is lined with her bas-reliefs, maybe frontal works, and this full round piece in the middle of the gallery. Here's some more full round work. This is Deborah Butterfield. She also uses found objects. This one is actually metal that she's constructed, welded, or however she puts them together. They're full-sized horses. Oftentimes, I think the pieces that you see most often are driftwood she's found on the beach that she's put together, and then those pieces are cast in bronze. And you can see them in lots of museums. I've even seen them on college campuses, but they're pretty wonderful. Here's some more pieces that you can walk around and see all sides and really enjoy the surface of the wood here. This is Martin Puryear, an African-American artist who, after college, went to join the Peace Corps and went to Africa, where he learned to really appreciate the way that the people there used wood and their more traditional tools. You can see that these have kind of a primitive look about them, and really say something more about the material and massive forms, I guess, than trying to look like something else. So these are full round pieces in the round that you can walk around. These are also that way, but sometimes they're put on these platforms or plinths or pedestals so that you don't trip over them or run into them. And here you can see they've amassed a number of these in one spot, and you can kind of walk around those. The last thing we're going to look at in this section is walk-through work. And this is Antoni Gaudi's spiral staircase that goes up and down in his cathedral in Barcelona, Spain. And so you can see how you can't get more involved in a walk-through piece than going up and down some stairs. And here's some more stairs, a little more modern view, something that looks just like a sculpture on its own right. This is kind of cool. You can walk up this way, or you can take a little side trip over on that side. Pretty neat. This is an installation of Nancy Graves' camels. These are pretty interesting pieces in that they're made of wood and steel for their armature, the underlying structure of these, like their skeleton. They've got burlap, polyurethane, animal skin, wax, and oil paint on them. But here you can wander through this gallery and walk amongst the herd. So it's meant to be, you're supposed to have a little curiosity and kind of see what it's like to be up and next to these huge animals. Here's another one, Labyrinths, and this one is called Labyrinth. He's has a number of his pieces called Labyrinth, and they are things that you are meant to walk through to enter and find your way out again, which is a great metaphor for this. You can see the chain link fence here reminiscent of prison, or ironically elementary school grounds. And this was set in its site-specific installation, installed here for a short period of time, meant to be seen, crammed into this particular space. It's in a high security prison. And it kind of, just because of the setting and the material, you start to think about, the labyrinth of how you might have gotten into the prison, the labyrinth of lawyers and courts and paperwork and plea deals and whatever to try and find your way out. Not a very easy process. Here's another one. And here again, we can see the problem with scale. This to me looks like one of those little marble games that you play as a kid, or the little BBs that go around and you kind of tilt the thing. The walls of this labyrinth are actually 8 feet tall. And if that weren't kind of ominous enough, you can imagine, if you're under 6 feet or around 6 feet, it's still 2 feet taller than you are. The interior pathways are only 18 inches wide. So this is an extremely claustrophobic experience to go in here. Really pretty scary to be going back and forth and not really having a way to get your orientation on where the heck you're going, and hopefully you're going to get out. And I know we've all felt like that in certain experiences, maybe not unlike this whole COVID pandemic, wending our way through here to try and find a normalcy about it, and then hopefully getting out of there. Time will tell. Here's the last of these slides. This is Louise Nevelson Plaza. She's kind of loomed large in this lecture. And in this plaza named after her in New York City, there's a tall figurative piece down here. He almost looks like he's a warrior. Maybe this is a shield. He's got some kind of a helmet. Is this a lance, a sword? And then you can't really see very easily. There aren't very many great pictures of this, but there are 3 other figuratives, a little bit smaller than this one down here. This sort of looks like the leader of the pack. And these smaller guys over here, and here you get a picture of another one of the people or figures. So is it a helmet? I mean, I'm looking at this and wondering, is this like a triangle layering? I guess we'd have to go there and really kind of see how we interpret it. But not only can you wander all through this, but you can actually sit down in the benches and have lunch or a cup of coffee with friends if you want, and really experience it in a very different way. So the last thing we're going to look at is just a slide I threw in here. I just want to see whether you can make out what kind of 3D form these might be. And you can answer that on the questions that are also in this module. And so that is the end of this 2-part lecture.